out by J.J. McCarthy.
Take the handoff. And Alec Manis is going to throw a pick.
They give it to Corum. Up back. Corum. Touchdown, Wolverine.
Ruben Wilson does it again. Corum finds some daylight. He's got some speed and some blockers.
Outside, turns the corner. Blake Corum down the sideline. Looking over the middle. Caught. Touchdown, Wolverine.
McCarthy extends the play, now using legs. McCarthy a first down.
Woo! Whoa, and here we are. We are back. We are in studio again. Well, I guess we'll call it a studio.
Kind of. You have drums in your studio.
I do. I got a little light
That's
around
cool.
it like that.
All
I fixed
right.
one of the clamps. One of the clamps broke, or two of the clamps broke, but I fixed them.
Nice.
Oh, man. It feels like it's been a while, but here we are.
It's been a couple weeks, actually. I mean, we took
Yeah.
last week off for Memorial Day. Thank you, troops. Appreciate you.
Well, indeed. You were also on the TJ's call-in show last Thursday night. That went really well.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. TJ's awesome. Really, really smart guy. Appreciated him having me on.
Yeah, indeed. And we got Antoine and Blue Wolverine are both in the chat already. Good to see you guys.
What's up?
This is what we're going to talk about tonight. We've got the NCAA lost their lawsuit, and now every member school is going to pay for it.
They settled it.
They settled it. Yeah, they
Which
settled
is
the
kind of
lawsuit. Well, yeah, it's more. It's not technically a loss. It's a settlement, and now every member school has to help pay. Also, Sharon Moore is attacking recruiting with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. Can we still say that?
Yes.
Are we allowed to say that? All right.
We're allowed to say that. He didn't trademark it.
All right. You never know. What's his name? PJ Fleck tried to take stuff that,
Well,
what was it, row the boat?
Yeah, wasn't that because didn't he lose a kid? Oh, that sounded really crappy. I didn't mean to be insensitive about it. I'm just saying.
Way to bring us all down, man.
Yeah, well, isn't that because of that, though? I thought there was a reason behind whatever. I'm sorry.
Also, James Franklin might be on the hook for the biggest medical scandal in college football history. Am I doing this right? Is it the...
Oh, my gosh.
It's got to be...
We got to protect the integrity of the game.
Right.
He should be fired. He should be strung up in the public square, drawn and quartered, tarred and feathered.
Right.
Yep.
Although kids could be getting hurt, so there's that. You know what I just realized? Blue Wolverine used our Crying Ryan and the hammer emoji.
Yeah, he did.
In the chat. I can't see it on Restream. I can only see the text. So that's pretty cool. Thanks, Blue Wolverine. That's awesome.
That's because Blue Wolverine is a member.
Right.
Thank you, Blue Wolverine.
This is going to be a big show because the stories we're talking about are going to impact the future of college football. Now, it's not necessarily an existential crisis, although it might be for the NCAA, but we are looking at some massive, massive changes. So stick around and let's figure that out. This is the Big Ten Team Rivalry Show. Welcome back. We are back. Like I said, it feels like it's been a while. I am your host, Cliff. I am a professional web developer and part-time amateur woodworker. With me, as always, is Mac. We're not insiders. We're fans, and we love to talk football. This is what we do here. We pick a topic. We give our opinion. We ask you to give yours. That's what the chat is for. Whenever you have an opinion about what we think, or frankly, anything football-related, just throw it in the chat, and we'll bring it up, potentially. We try to. There's, it's that same old thing where, early on we could bring up every single chat, but now we've actually got an audience and it's hard to bring up every single chat. So it's really cool. And then it's kind of frustrating at the same time, but it's really cool. And we'd like it to stay that way. We are expert trash talk with unrivaled analysis, unrivaled team rivalry. Get it? It's a dad joke. Mac, how are you doing over there?
I don't know anymore.
Yeah, I just went through a lot of stuff.
I'm good. Yeah. Yeah. I'm good. It was hot today, so the air was cranked all day long today. I'm trying to cool down now, but the door's closed and it gets hot in this room. So just a little status update.
Well, wait a minute here. Moose says it's not Natty or bust for Ryan Day. It's beat Michigan or bust. Was he watching the video we just recorded?
No,
Moose,
I put...
Do you have a camera in here?
Okay, he's saying that because we just recorded a video for Voice of College Football talking about this. And no, I put up a poll. I'm pointing at the poll right
Oh,
now. I put
did
up
you?
a poll.
Oh, okay.
And he's responding to that. Goodness gracious.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I need to get my other monitor back. I bought a new monitor, so I've got this 30-inch single monitor, and I've got everything I need right here, except for I would like to have the chat or other stuff in another monitor. So I'm gonna probably bring one of them back.
Do it.
At any rate, we have a new section that I like to call Quick Hits. And Mac, you can respond to these and comment at your will.
Excellent.
So this is how it goes. I forgot to look up the shortcuts for this, so I got to do it by hand. Here we go. Baby Gronk has flipped his commitment to Georgia.
No, he didn't. His dad did.
This is his 7th commitment. He went to Oregon, LSU, Ohio State, Michigan, Colorado, Tennessee, and now Georgia. The expectation is he'll keep flipping until he's committed to all the schools on his top 30 list. But let's be honest, none of these commitments are real because he's too young to be eligible. As you said, it turns out his dad is behind all of this because nothing wins your son's affection like destroying their childhood.
Yep. What does this have to do with anything anyway? How did this guy become a thing? Like, does he have anything to do with Rob Gronkowski?
No, that's it. This is a total. I really think you remember. It's a total media thing. It's to get clicks and it's to get him noticed, and it's because his parents are like, my son's going to play football. Just like you remember, there was a kid on your football team who liked to play basketball, and I thought he was getting a basketball scholarship. So they're like, he can't get hurt playing football. He's got a basketball scholarship. So they think that at 11 years old, they already know he's going to the NFL, and it's kind of sad because I think even Rob Gronkowski got upset with the kid's dad, saying it's gone too far and he needs to lighten up. The kid needs to be a kid.
I don't even know. This is insane. This whole thing needs to end. I mean, all right. Never mind.
I have bad things happening to my throat today. Quick hit number 2. Hang the banner for this one. Ohio State continues their off-season championship run. The collective average GPA of the OSU football team is 3.24.
Wow.
For those keeping score at home, that's a B, maybe a B plus average. It's also putting food on Ryan Day's table, as he will receive a $50,000 bonus for this. Although I have to say it's probably all soft food he can drink through a straw. Which might be what I need right now. I'm going to sound like the Marlboro Man by the time this show is over.
So, okay, Ryan Day got paid the average American middle class salary for a household of 1 to 2 adults as a bonus for telling his players to go to class.
Yes, you are
this
correct.
Is stupid and shouldn't be a thing. I had a 3.75 GPA coming out of grad school. I had a 3.83 for my undergrad. Eat my dust, Ohio State football.
See, had you played your cards right, you could have made money for Ryan Day.
Man, you're right. What even is life? My life is meaningless.
You were only thinking about yourself.
I can't even. And they say, this is stupid. So many people are upset, revenue sharing is going to ruin college football. No, the guy telling his kids to go to class and getting 50 grand for it is what's going to ruin college football.
Yep.
This is ridiculous. For the record, Dave's here. I know it's in everyone's contract, and it needs to not be.
I know, it's kind of silly. 3 point. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. I got to grab a couple of these. It's a high achievement for OSU. Ooh.
Shots fired.
But Buckeyes Battle Cry is right. Hello, Buckeyes Battle Cry. We've certainly got some thoughts to share in the poll next week. Yes, we got just a preview here. Buckeyes Battle Cry is going to be on the show next week. More on that later.
Really excited for that. That's going to be awesome.
Quick hit number 3. Speaking of Father of the Year, Shiloh Sanders, son of Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, for those who remember that debacle, is declaring bankruptcy. Why? Back in 2015, he allegedly attacked a security officer at his high school. The officer suffered severe injuries, and Sanders was ordered to pay $11.89 million. Sanders, though, has hit some hard times, claiming that he only has about 300,000. And now a lot of people are asking, what happened to all your NIL money, son? Shiloh answered, I don't care what they say about me. When I'm through with sports, I don't want to be known as anything else in life but a great father. Oh, I'm sorry. That's what Deion said.
What the? To absolve a college football player files bankruptcy to absolve $11.8 million judgment tied to an assault case from 5 years ago.
Yeah. Strange days in college sports.
The narrative of the world is written by the Babylon Bee. That's all I've got.
Yep.
Move on.
Here we go. Buckeyes battle cry is right here. This Shiloh story is outrageous. The circus continues in Boulder, Colorado. Yep, I agree. Moose. Wow, I thought Deion's sons were paid. Paid by Deion? Or yeah, I don't know, man.
Let's just say Deion Sanders is a prime example of how not to raise your kid. I tried.
I don't know how much longer they're going to be calling him Coach Prime. That's pretty ridiculous. I don't know how you get to that point. I mean, especially in high school. Why? I mean, who's watching these kids? And then, well, I guess he didn't grow up in Colorado, though, did he? Although I guess Colorado schools are probably, well, I don't know if he went to an inner city school or any other school, but who knows? I don't know. It's just
I'm
getting
guessing
outrageous.
all of Colorado public high schools smell like skunk. That's all. That's
Well, yeah. Ever since they legalized marijuana, they probably smell pretty bad.
yeah.
Hey, Dave's here. Subprime. Yeah, probably. Moose, I bet he spent all his NIL money on stupid stuff like diamond earrings and necklaces.
Was he the one? No, it was Shedeur Sanders who was. He was pointing to his wrist like he's got a really nice watch or whatever after a game, and I can't remember what game it was. That was okay. I can't remember what game it was, but that was ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, Colorado went 4-8, and like in less than a year made the entire country hate them. Like, I don't know that there's a single person outside of Boulder, Colorado that wants Colorado to do well. I sincerely hope that they lose every single game.
They lost almost every single game last year.
Sorry, I just heard tire squeal.
I heard that too.
Did you?
Yeah.
All right. Well.
Oh, Dave Stewart's got a good question. As a minor, how is that not on Prime?
The assault or the
assault,
money?
Yeah. I think it's because it wouldn't be on the parents at all normally. Although with that case with the parents who gave their kid a gun, who then unfortunately went and shot up a school, the parents were held responsible. In some respects, I can understand why, because they gave him a gun when they knew they shouldn't, because the kid had mental problems. In this case, though, the way it normally happens, I just realized we got. Oh, I'm sorry. I get distracted by the crawl there. It's not supposed to be there. What normally happens is the parents are not held responsible, but the kid would go to juvie. So I don't know why he didn't end up in juvie if he was actually, arrested and charged and guilty. He should have gone to juvie for that. But Deion Sanders is rich, so there's justice for the rich and there's justice for the poor. So, but that's a whole different show.
Maybe that settlement was part of that. Maybe they didn't press charges because they reached a settlement or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Moose, we're 4-8, but at least I have a nice watch. There you go. Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, I can't stand Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah. Excuse me. I did. My throat was not this bad a minute ago.
Yeah. Chain smoking
Remember
again? What the
before
heck?
we started. So I guess he wasn't the prime suspect. We're gonna go all night with this one. All right. While you guys are working on the rest of those jokes,
We're gonna get
let's
some of these on T-shirts.
yeah, let's jump over to our first story.
That logo.
I decided to have some fun with the slides. This is the only slide. It's going to be. I wanted to do it like a over the shoulder thing. I'll try to figure that out for next time. But here we go. This one has a really sordid past, and I don't know if we're going to be able to navigate through all of it. But essentially, here's what's happened. The end result of it right now is that Scott Lynch. Oh yeah, Scott Lynch was just awarded $5.25 million for being fired from the Penn State football team medical staff because, well, the official designation was that he was not living in the Penn State college area, which seems like a really stupid thing because he had already been working there for like a year and a half, almost 2 years, and then they fired him. So either they're really patient or they made that up. What Scott Lynch is saying is that he was fired because he wouldn't clear guys who should be on the injured list, but James Franklin said, no, they don't need to be on the injured list, and Scott Lynch wouldn't go along with it. So the lawsuit originally included James Franklin and Penn State. That began in 2019. But the lawsuit failed at first because he had they got him on a technicality. He missed the deadline to file it. So to get around that, hey, John D'Adamo's here. Hey, John D'Adamo. To get around that, he dropped James Franklin and Penn State from the lawsuit, but included Penn State Health. And, there was one other organization. It's in my notes here somewhere. I'll come across it. So the lawsuit kept going, and now it's finally come through. So Lynch says, so if the allegations are true, then I'm going into explanation on this lawsuit when I probably really don't need to, except that what we know now is that it really does look like James Franklin wanted to play players who should be on the injured list. We saw something similar to this back when Hoke was coach, and who was it? Was that Patterson?
Shane Morris.
Shane Morris. That's right.
Yeah. I remember
Shea
that.
Patterson, Shane Morris. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he sort of almost fell over coming off the field.
Mm-hmm.
And they said he should have gone through concussion protocol, and Hoke took a lot of crap for that, as he should have.
Yeah.
But here we are. So here's the question for you, Mac, and for the chat. What do you think will happen to Franklin? Are the players being protected? I guess it's a 3-part question. Is that what do you think will happen to Franklin? Are the players being protected, and is NIL going to make this worse? For you guys in the chat, pick any one of those. What do you think is going to happen to James Franklin? Maybe it should be the top one, but also how would you protect the players from this? Mac, just what do you think? Let's conversate.
Well, I mean, if players aren't being protected, then yeah, Franklin should probably be fired. And I think, I mean, I don't
You
mean
think straight up fired, not just suspended for a while, but straight up fired.
Well, maybe suspended while they investigate. But like the thing is if there are players that are on the injured list and a doctor says that they should be on the injured list, and then James Franklin says, no, we're going to play him anyway. And it's as long as it's not, if they're not risking like permanent injury or further injury, then fine, whatever, I get it. But if they've got, if they're, concussion protocol kids or something like that, that he should absolutely be fired. I mean, even if it's not concussion protocol, if it's anything else that could jeopardize the future of the kid, he should be fired. I mean, we're talking about this is their ability to make money. This is their income potential is kind of on the line here. I mean, with the way NIL is right now and the possibility of going professional, or even if they sustain an injury in college football that keeps them from being able to get a job in their chosen career field. I mean, their ability to make an income and provide for their families is in question here if they sustain a certain type of injury. Maybe I'm taking it too far, but still, I mean, if player safety is in question here, then he should absolutely be fired. I don't know, there's something to be said for like, you know, I know. So my downstairs neighbor actually played high school football, and he said that he sprained his ankle really bad during a game. And even in high school, what they do is just tape up the ankle and tell you, just do your best and send you right back out on the field.
Mhm.
And maybe, I don't know, from my point of view, that might be too far because when I sprained my ankle, I had trouble walking to the bathroom. So,
That's important.
and that's very important. And believe me, my wife didn't want to carry me to the bathroom as often as she needed to. So anyway, point being, there's a difference between an injury that can be exacerbated and call into question the future of their ability to make money or make an income, whatever. And then there's an injury that, maybe they can just fight through it. Maybe it's a little painful, but they can get through it. If this was something that could potentially cause future concerns for the players, then yeah, he's out. He needs to be fired. That's unacceptable. That's just unacceptable. I mean, at a point in time where we're already talking about like these players provide so much value to the stakeholders of college football. I mean, billions of dollars in revenue for the schools, for the NCAA, for the networks. And they're just now starting to get paid for it. And they're just now looking at a revenue sharing model. And this is when he decides to start questioning whether or not a player should actually be on the injury list. This is where he starts pressuring the doctor to allow the kid, or not to allow, pressuring the doctor to put the kid back in the game. That's so unacceptable. I mean, the kids are already being taken advantage of in terms of the amount of value that they provide to the stakeholders and getting very little in return. And then he wants them to potentially risk their futures by playing through injury. That's just so unacceptable.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I think as soon as we're talking about player safety, and we are literally talking about player safety here, I don't even think that's a suspension anymore. I think that's a fired, get him out. Because it in my mind it comes down to how do you know you can trust him? Because he was already engaging the team doctor to say, hey, go along with me on this. And who knows if he was doing that with the previous team doctor and the current team doctor. Now you got to try to get them to talk. So there's really a trust issue there, and then obviously looking out for the safety of these kids. But you're right, with the more money being involved now, it's just going to get worse. So they got to do something. It's almost like they have to make an example of him, otherwise this is going to get out of hand fast.
Well, and if this gets out to like future players too, which obviously it will, it's in the news and, we're talking about it. But if it gets out to, recruits, then.
Which I'm sure it has at this point. I don't know how it will.
Yeah. So a recruit is now looking at James Franklin like, gee, if I get injured, he might force me to play anyway. And not just like, oh, my leg hurts because I took a hard hit. I'm talking like, oh, you might have broken something. Well, you got to play anyway. So now these kids are making millions of dollars, and the transfer portal is easier to get into than ever. They're either one, not going to go to Penn State, or two, they're going to go to Penn State, have something like this happen, and they're out. So the future of Penn State's program is just decimated because they don't want to play for a coach who could potentially force them into a situation where they're potentially going to sustain a career-ending injury.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he should be fired.
Yeah,
I mean, if anything, if I'm Penn State's athletic director, I'm looking at this like, okay, if I'm a Penn State stakeholder, and the revenue of the athletic department depends on the football team doing well, and I just found out that my coach is putting in players despite the fact that they could risk career-ending injuries, then he needs to be out. This is a direct threat to the revenue of the program if the talent starts transferring out.
Right. Well, a quick look through the chat. It looks like people agree that he should be fired. Although what I see here, Moose Was it Moose? Yeah, Moose said he'll get a 3-game suspension max. Yeah, unfortunately, I think that's probably right. I want to back up to one here, though. Dave's here said that didn't Cade McNamara claim this of Jim Harbaugh?
Hmm.
I vaguely remember that, but man, now
Yeah.
it's been so long.
I can do some quick research.
Yeah, see if you can find out anything on that. Ooh, apparently John D'Adamo. Oh, I'm sorry. He's asking. I clicked on the wrong one. Why are we bringing up the Dark Ages, man? Brady Hoke, I think he went to Michigan during the Hoke years. Hey, good for you though. You went to Michigan. At least now, when a Michigan State fan asks you, "Hey, did you go to Michigan?" You can say, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Because you can shut up the Michigan State fans. I don't what is that's another topic. That's another show. I don't know why it is Michigan State fans. Their very first question is, "Oh, did you even go to Michigan?" Who cares? Anyway, Buckeyes battle cry. This story needs to pick up wind. Franklin is a fun adversary and easy for OSU U of M to beat, but needs to go after this. Yeah, I agree. This they can't just let this one slide. This isn't just one or two players played on a bad leg. This is an ongoing, consistent thing that caused one of the doctors to speak up and even pursue this lawsuit over the past 5 years. Granted, he's got $5.25 million coming to him now, but still, this is a big deal. Dave Scheer thinks nothing will happen. It's about profit, not players. That's the fear. If that happens, I mean, I guess it happens in the NFL. They, that whole concussion thing. They tried to tell the NFL players that nothing was happening. They were all fine, and now they've done all these studies showing that these aging NFL players are suffering brain injuries, not just bad headaches. Did you find anything on McNamara?
No, I couldn't find it, but I know that something like that happened. I can't think of enough keywords that I can't think of enough keywords to actually find the story. So whatever happened, it must not have been that big of a deal.
All right. Well, we'll look that up some more and see what we can find out for next time.
Maybe we'll probably forget.
We'll probably forget. Let's see. His player attended ending things, was admitted to a psych ward, and Franklin wanted to free up his scholarship. Oh, well, yeah, that was okay. So there was another one. It wasn't just the kid who was injured. There was several situations here. One of them was one of the kids committed suicide.
Oh, he did?
Or
I thought he was
attempted suicide.
Yeah.
And James Franklin basically pushed him aside and said, "Well, get him off the roster so I can replace his scholarship."
That's messed up because then they lose their health insurance. Because the kids get medical, I don't know if it's technically insurance, but they get medical through the school while on the team.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. He's gone. I can't stand James Franklin. I mean, I already thought he was a mediocre coach. I mean, I don't know, maybe not mediocre. He's a decent enough coach. He just loses every big game he plays in, but now he needs to be fired. That's ridiculous.
A hard guy to like.
Mm-hmm.
John D'Adamo. Hey, John.
Hi, John.
Says he's been riding on that fluke play in 2016 to beat OSU this whole time. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, the guy is at best third place every year, not anywhere near what Penn State used to be. Although that would have been prior to joining the Big Ten, but still. What else we got here? Penn State should be as good as Michigan. Yes, they should. When Penn State first entered the Big Ten, they were essentially where they are now, number 3. It was always Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. And Wisconsin. Wisconsin's was for a long time one of the powerhouses of the Big Ten. Kind of running on hard times right now, but they'll get back. Let's see. Dave Scheer says, to be fair, most of the rest of the league has the same problem as Penn State versus Michigan and OSU.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of sad here. Let's see. Hey, Connor. Connor Stallions is here.
Hey.
Just got finished getting blown out in softball. Oh, sorry, man.
Oh, man.
Hopefully it was just the score and not your knee. 'Cause
Oh,
that
yeah.
hurts. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if it was your knee, don't tell James Franklin. He'll make you play anyway.
Anyway.
Hmm.
Uh, Moose says Franklin will always be known as beating the mid and bottom feeders of the Big Ten, but never being able to beat the big dogs. Yeah, with USC, Oregon, Washington, and UCLA coming, it's not getting any easier. I don't know if UCLA is going to be a problem, at least not at first, but yeah, definitely USC, Washington, and Oregon.
Washington, I'm thinking might be coming in at a bad time, actually, because they had a lot of roster turnover and a new coach,
New
and
coach.
at least Penn State has stability, even though they lost Keandre Lambert Smith to the portal. So that'll be interesting to see how they backfill him. But I don't know. I think USC and Oregon are the two that they really need to be worrying about in the immediate.
Right. Update on Connor Stallion's knee. One league, a teammate of mine tore her ACL playing softball. Otherwise, we just got blown out. Franklin Contra. Oh man,
That
that
sucks.
that hurts.
Mhm.
Literally.
I can feel my plantar fascia tearing all over again.
So John D'Adamo and Connor are in a race to get the best nickname here. James overrated Franklin. James almost Franklin. Any more we got out there? John says every year PSU is the off-season media darling. Remember, Drew Alar was supposed to be the second coming of Elway and Jesus Christ, and then underperforms in the season. I do remember that. Yeah, they were talking up Drew quite a lot, and then just nothing happened.
Well, we talked about it on the show at one point that, like, with Penn State quarterbacks not named, what was it? Trace McSorley was a really good quarterback, but Penn State quarterbacks in general, you know what you're going to get from them because of James Franklin. Like, I feel like he never really gets elite quarterback play. He just gets quarterbacks that, I mean, they're not idiots. They know what they're doing. They're just not dynamic enough. They're not elite. And Drew Alar is the same kind of way. I mean, he might take a step forward this season, hopefully, and I only say hopefully because they're not playing Michigan. He's not going to do any, or he wouldn't do anything against this year's Michigan defense either.
Mm-hmm. Buckeyes battle cry. He was so atrocious in the big games. Yeah, Penn State's not winning the big games either. Cade check down Amara. Moose. We're getting all the nicknames tonight. Okay, wait a minute. I want to follow this one through. So John D'Adamo says, I'm going to say something nice about Ryan Day. So are you prepared for this?
I guess so.
All right. He does a great job promoting players' mental health, so this wouldn't happen there, I don't think.
That's true.
Oh, you guys are hurt. Why don't you all just sit down? Sit down.
I could make a joke
Ohio
about how
State's always
soft
had good depth. I'm sorry, what?
I was just going to say, I could make a joke about how soft they are, but I think they actually did have a player, if I remember correctly, they had a player self-delete a couple years ago. And that was pretty
Self-delete?
tragic.
Did you say? Self-delete?
Yeah.
What is that?
You can't say the real word for it on YouTube because they'll flag you.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that if I remember correctly, they had a player self-delete a few years ago, and that was pretty tragic. So it's mental health at Ohio State has actually been taken incredibly seriously, which is awesome.
I'm not sure what's worse though. Okay, so I'm trying to be serious here. Not sure what's worth saying the actual word or self-delete. Almost it reminds me of Logan's Run from the 70s. It's like everything was very clinical.
Yeah.
So nobody was actually living like it's a good sci-fi movie if anybody gets a chance to watch it.
I haven't seen it.
Very pertinent to what is going on right now. Although there is a very weird hedonistic scene in the middle of it that is just bizarre looking. So I don't know how else to explain it, but at any rate.
Bug-Eyes Battle Cry says Ryan Day's own father self-deleted. Did not know that. That's terrible.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Jeez.
Goodness gracious.
Well, I'll say something nice about Ryan Day. It's really awesome that despite the trauma that he's been through, that he has had as much success as he's had. I mean, the fact that he's Ohio State's coach right now, I know everybody's got him on the hot seat for some reason, but credit to him where credit's due. I mean, he's overcome a lot, and that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Taking a quick step back here to the Ohio State Natty or Bust. Mike G, who apparently is known by several people in the chat. Hi, Mike. Good to see you. The Ohio Natty or Bust narrative is myopic. Ole Miss and UGA have something to say about that, and so does Michigan. Now, yeah, there's an interesting point there because as I was looking at, I'd never really put it together before that, like I said earlier, or I said in the other video, Ryan Day won what 2018, 19, and 20, the Big Ten championship, and then Jim Harbaugh wins 21, 22, and 23, and that was after the 4 bad years that where he should have been fired in 2020 by all rights. They should have let him go and gotten somebody else, but they didn't. So the question is, Ryan Day now in his 6th year? Seventh.
He got it in 2018 or 2019 was the first year, right? So he's going on.
Well, no, but when did he start? 2018?
No, I think it was 2019. 2018 was Urban Meyer's last year, wasn't it?
Oh, maybe he was interim the last couple of games. Because didn't Urban get fired like in the middle?
Urban Meyer wasn't fired.
Wasn't he?
No. He quit. Well, he retired.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but didn't he retire like before the end of the season?
No.
Man, who am I thinking of? Oh, well, anyway. Okay, so 2019 then. So so then he is in his 6th year now.
Oh, okay. John's got you covered. Day was interim head coach for a few games in 2018 while Urban was on suspension.
Okay, yeah,
that's what happened. Yeah.
Okay.
Urban was suspended, but
Okay. So, well then, okay, so a full-time head coach, this is his 5th year. Sixth year.
6. I think this is
2019. Okay, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So this is his 6th year.
Yeah. Neither of us went to Michigan, so you can't blame us for not being able to do math. Okay. I went to Western. He went to Washtenaw. Give me a break.
So after 6 years, rather than Harbaugh was 4 years, 15, 16, 17. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, he started in 15.
Who?
15, Harbaugh.
Yes.
15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So they gave him 6 years to get his act together.
Yep.
And he did. So this year could potentially be, if he follows the same route and this year does not go the way they hope, it could be that there are some drastic changes that they allow for at the end of this season and then next season picks up. Well, I mean, they hope, I guess.
I still can't believe we're having the conversation about Ryan Day being on the hot seat.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Antoine says Ohio State is on the hot seat. And Day in particular, because they recruited top 5 talent in the last 10 years and haven't won a championship. Okay. All right. So considering what I just said, here's the other side of that. Ryan Day has been able to get these top 10 classes where Harbaugh couldn't. So I don't know. Anyway, we might have to go into a little bit more detail on that on another show.
Maybe we can analyze every nook and cranny of Ryan Day's career at Ohio State to understand why he's on the hot seat.
We will be watching closely this season to see what happens. Let's move into the next story. What?
You see?
Oh no!
Comment.
I see Urban at DW in Ypsilanti, Michigan. Bought everyone a lap dance. Ooh.
I've seen the billboards. That's not a place you'd find us.
No. On to the next story.
On that note.
So this story, now obviously we've all been talking about the NCAA lawsuit and everything that's going on there, the House versus the NCAA lawsuit. There are so many angles to this. Mac and I wanted to talk about this last week. Last week we didn't actually do the show because we both weren't feeling well. At least I think that was the reason. I don't remember now.
Last week?
Yeah.
Memorial Day.
See? I don't remember. We took off for Memorial Day.
It was
But this lawsuit,
month
okay,
ago,
so
for a sec.
so probably everybody understands the basics of what's happened with this lawsuit now. So we're going to kind of try to step through some of it and maybe flesh out some of these questions that we've got, that we're trying to figure out how this is going to change and impact college football going forward. At any rate, the lawsuit against the NCAA is over with a settlement, and college football is officially the minor league. That's right, the NFL minor league. There is no amateur college football anymore. Everyone in the chat there, drop in the chat if you think this will be good or bad for college football going forward. That's a fairly straightforward question, but give us your opinions on how you feel about this whole college football no longer being an amateur sport. We have to work through some of this, but it sounds to me like right now, as it stands, the member schools are on the hook for a lot of money. So this is a bittersweet settlement. Oh, and I forgot to grab. Shoot, I apologize, John. I was going to grab the tweet you posted. John D'Adamo. John D'Adamo posted a tweet saying he wanted everyone to realize that everything Jim Harbaugh was pushing for has come true. And it's true. It has. But here we are. Here's the settlement. The NCAA and schools will now pay out over $2.7 billion over 10 years to athletes who played between 2016 and 2024. Why 2016? Don't know. 15,000 to 20,000 D1 athletes will receive payments. The NCAA will pay out 40%, member schools the other 60%, although I saw another report the other day where they said it's going to be something more like 41-59. I don't know.
Okay.
But I don't know, Mac, I've got a ton of notes here, but at this point, what are your thoughts on this? What do you think when the dust settles on this? What is college football going to look like?
So I guess I'm reminded of a couple of different things. I was listening to Joel Klatt earlier today. He was talking about this whole thing, and it's interesting because he said that the goal of the NCAA at this point is to just not get sued anymore. And that,
Okay.
amateurism is just not a good model. And so when it comes to the NCAA trying to enforce their rules, the NCAA is enforcing their rules and then every single time getting hit with lawsuits in return. They tried to enforce some sort of rule with Tennessee, and then all of a sudden the Tennessee Attorney General is suing them. Same thing with Virginia. So Klatt was saying that literally the point of this for the NCAA at right now is to just not get sued. They're sick and tired of getting sued. If they want the NCAA as an entity to survive, they need to get out of court. And that kind of says to me that they went a little too fast with the NIL stuff, which is why we're all sitting back here looking at this happening, saying, college football from a money perspective is unrecognizable because you've got NIL. They said all of a sudden players can make money off of their name, image, and likeness. How? We don't know. Just figure it out. And then they would try and figure it out, and the NCAA would be like, well, no, not like that. And the schools are like, well, how? I don't know. So amateurism was never going to be the model that that college football could go by without certain what is it called, antitrust. What is it called when you're given antitrust benefits? You're immune, antitrust immunity, basically.
Oh, all right.
So the NFL operates in such a way where they do have a monopoly on football. Essentially, they own the means of production and the means of distribution. That is, if I remember correctly, that is the from my days of studying economics at Western Michigan. That is how the NFL works. Their economic model is actually that of a cartel, where they own everything about it, and they're allowed to get away with an antitrust thing because they have antitrust immunity, because that is how they have to operate so that there is a competitive leveling of the field, leveling of the talent, basically, so that each team has an equal chance to perform. Because otherwise, the rich teams are going to get all the good talent, and that means those markets are always going to be doing better. And so those teams are the ones that are going to be winning Super Bowls all the time. Well, the Arizona Cardinals, they're not in a great market. They're not going to make any money. So they'll eventually not be able to afford a football team. And then boom, the Arizona Cardinals are gone. So the NCAA kind of needs to move in that direction where they need a certain amount of antitrust immunity. They need to operate in a way where it is the Super League that we've been talking about, where all of the money gets dispersed equally, or at least there's a way to disperse money equally among the member schools. But then we have to just accept the fact that that means that college football is not amateur, it is semi-pro. The other thing is too, is I'm reminded, and I can't remember where I heard this, but they say that if there is an animal on the endangered species list, that if you want them to get off the endangered species list, start eating them, because then there's money. And then all of a sudden the companies want to protect the life of those animals, and so they'll start doing things to try and protect the life of those animals, and then all of a sudden the population's not endangered anymore. College football to me kind of feels that way. And I don't know if your mic just went mute, just heads up. I don't know if that was necessarily what the NCAA was intending here, but that's kind of what happened. I'm pretty sure the NCAA's intention at this point was, like Joel Klatt said, just get out of court, because they were looking at it. If they had lost this lawsuit, now they settled this lawsuit, but if they had straight up lost it, then they would have been paying a lot more money. They would have been there was a rumor that they would have been in trouble, potentially in trouble of bankruptcy, had they actually lost the lawsuit. So I honestly think that this is just a step towards, the NCAA surviving. I think that's pretty much all it is right now. And when the dust settles, what is college football going to look like? I really don't know, because I think that they're going to need to figure out a model where they operate like the NFL, where they've got a certain number of teams, there's enough money to support those teams. And that might mean things like roster limits, where, the roster is only so big. They're only allowed, 50 to 70 players or something like that. Does that mean the end of the walk-on? Well, potentially. The NFL does have tryouts, but if that means the end of the walk-on, that means the end of the walk-on. Does that mean the product on the field gets better? It's entirely possible, yeah. Because now you're looking at players who, and your mic is still muted. I don't know.
Still? You can't hear me?
Oh, now I can hear you. There you are.
All right, good.
Sorry. But anyway, I'll just finish by saying, if the product on the field might actually get better, then, because you're putting money into the product, you're putting money back into the product. So these players, theoretically, the talent should actually improve, and should improve for every team.
So what I was going to say is that whole thing about, if you want to protect the animal, eat the animal. That was Detroit's own Ted Nugent that said that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yep. Okay, so I kind of lost track of what was happening because my microphone broke. But one of the issues that I was seeing in the in the results of this lawsuit now, aside from everything you were just talking about, is that the booster collectives become fairly significant now too. The booster collectives, so the settlement will not do away with the booster collectives, and in fact, the NCAA, I guess what I read at one point was that the NCAA was under the impression that this gave them more power over the booster collectives, but it actually gives them less.
Mm-hmm.
So the booster collectives become this sort of wild, wild west situation where they can throw money around in any way they want to. The only way the NCAA gets any kind of say in it is if the schools bring the booster collectives in-house. And the reason they would do that is to coordinate with the booster collective, which they've not been able to do before. they can coordinate with the booster collective and I guess more efficiently direct where the money goes. There's not a lot of um, impetus, I guess, or what's the word? I'm losing the word now. There's not a lot of reason for the booster collectives to do this, except that rather than if they were giving to the school rather than to collective, it becomes a tax write-off. But one of the key things now that has to happen is that Congress has to step in and make a unifying federal law to cover all the schools, because right now each state has its own different NIL laws and booster laws, which again creates this whole wild, wild west situation. One other thing I wanted to say too is that, like you were talking about, the whole antitrust thing, that they control the means of production and the
Means of distribution.
means of distribution. Excuse me. Um, 50 years ago, the situation was different because 50, 60 years ago, football wasn't as popular as it is now. So it wasn't as big a moneymaker. So it didn't matter. The NCAA made sense because the NCAA could come in, level the playing field, create a standard of ethics basically for all the schools. But now that money is an issue, because college sports have gotten so popular, college football has gotten so popular, now the players in some of the schools are starting to cry out, this is an antitrust issue, and that's why they needed to break it up. Some of these things just happen over time. But the question is, when it first happens, it creates a bigger mess than what you started with. And now who's going to be left standing when the dust settles?
That's kind of the thing. I mean, Connor Stallions just said it. You know, Congress can't put right foot in front of its left foot. They ain't passing nothing. I mean,
Right.
Then the NCAA is going to cease to exist, and potentially with it, any structure that college football has. Congress almost needs to be able to see it. And just a heads up, Moose, Antoine said that no, he cannot see your chats. One of you has the other one blocked. Possibly. Just there you go. I saw you guys talking about that in the chat, and I figured I'd help. So Congress from the federal level absolutely does have to pass something. This was something else that Joel Klatt was talking about too, that, you know, if you think about the Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals or the Detroit Lions, operating by a different set of rules than each other, because of state litigation or state legality or whatever, then that's going to cause issues. And that might mean that one team gets all the talent because they have all the money, and then the other teams can't keep up, and then they go bankrupt. And then the product is constantly in flux every year because they keep having teams go bankrupt, and they keep having to figure out how to get more teams in. So the NCAA has got to figure out a model where they can afford to keep all of the teams equally viable. And that's going to require federal regulation, because if it's left to the states, and I'm a federalist at heart, but when it comes to things like this, when it comes to football, I'm a monopolist all day long, man. Like, screw capitalism when it comes to football, dude. Anyway, like, because the states are going to have different rules for the ways that their players are able to make money. And so federally speaking, anything that happens within the NCAA needs to be protected with an antitrust immunity type thing. I can't remember what the technical term for that is. Mm-hmm. Antoine, I think if you go into your Google account settings, you can find where you block people and you can unblock him.
Real-time tech support.
Anyway, so yeah, I honestly, to put a little bow on this then, unless you had more about it, I actually do. Oh, you do? Okay. I'm not upset with this, and I'm actually pretty pleased that this is starting to happen, because it kind of had to happen. I mean, we live in a world where the lesser of two evils is, you know, the NCAA. We might need the NCAA to exist, and that sucks. But as soon as money like this becomes involved, then regulations are going to start being put in place. And as long as everybody's operating by the same rules, then it's fine. But so far, that hasn't been the case.
Two other outcomes of the settlement is that it creates roster caps and eliminates scholarship caps, which effectively means the end of walk-ons.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what's being reported. It might also reduce movement via the transfer portal because essentially every player is making the same amount of money for a given circumstance. That's going to be according to if they do get the law passed. Or no, wait a minute. I don't think they even have to get the law passed. I think that's just part of the settlement. They're trying to get the law passed so that the players don't become employees. But essentially, what this will mean is every player is getting paid the same. So QB1 at Michigan is going to get paid the same as QB1 at Ohio State, as QB1 at Vanderbilt. So that would create less of a less movement in the portal because Alabama can't throw a bag at you and say they'll give you more money because you're only going to get as much money as would be there anyway. Actually, Alabama wouldn't be the one throwing the money at you. It's the boosters. Oh, you know what? And I just realized that means they have to bring the boosters in-house. So if the boosters don't come in-house, then that whole same amount of money thing is not going to be valid. Is it?
I don't know. I didn't think
I don't
that
think
the
it
boosters
is.
actually had to come in-house. I think that actually, I think that the schools might want the boosters to come in-house so that they can be more directly involved with the program.
Well,
Because,
and they may want them to the schools as a collective now across the league may want them to come in-house. So they might all agree on that because that way that's going to be the last way to keep a level playing field so that they reduce movement in the transfer portal. Because again, QB1 at Michigan will make the same as QB1 at Alabama, as Vanderbilt, as South Dakota State.
but okay, I guess I'm confused because that's not how it works in the NFL. Kirk Cousins is getting paid the biggest contract for a quarterback ever, isn't he? And he plays for
Well, right,
Atlanta
but
now,
that's
and he might not
yeah,
even start.
but that's because they have. Well, I mean, the NFL is going to work differently anyway. I mean, then you're talking salary caps. So Kirk Cousins makes that kind of money, which means other guys on his team are making less than equivalent players at other teams because they have a salary cap.
Well,
In that case, for each team, the pie is only so big, and you can only divide it up so many times.
yeah, but that would mean, I mean, they're the exact same thing. I would think would start to happen in college football too. I mean, teams are going to
Yeah,
value the quarterback more than they are the right tackle. I mean, teams are going to value the quarterback more than the running back. Maybe not at Michigan, but
right.
probably at Oregon or Ohio State or something like that. So
Well,
the
yeah, the
same.
position might make more. So the QB might make more than a linebacker, but they would make the same at each school.
I don't know how they would be able to control that.
That's
As
if
long
it,
as long as they stay within the salary cap, why would Michigan, if Michigan and Alabama are trying to recruit the same quarterback, he's a
Mhm.
5-star quarterback. He's everything you could ever want in a quarterback. He's Tom Brady, but mobile. I mean, why, if Alabama says, as long as they stay in the $20 million salary cap, if Alabama says we can give you 10 million, why wouldn't Michigan then say we can give you 11? Because they want the quarterback. And so they'll have to take salary
Right.
away from the other players.
I guess okay, so I guess I gotta do some more research on this, but my understanding was that it's the idea of the settlement is to set up the pay for play so that it's even across the board, so that a QB position makes this much, and then again, it's QB1, QB2 makes this much, linebacker one, linebacker two, running back one, running back two makes so much, and then it's standardized across the league. And that is in an effort to sort of even everything out. So then what they can do then, now what you might find is that QB1 at Michigan might find out if he goes to Alabama, He might make the same amount from the school, but there might be an NIL deal that's better down there than it is here. But it's not through the school,
So
it's through somebody else.
the extra money on the outside from the NIL collective might be. I don't think that they can do that. I
I thought
think
that's what this settlement allowed them to do.
the revenue sharing is what came from this settlement. The revenue sharing is what came from
Right.
the settlement. The NIL collective, I have no idea how the NIL collectives are going to behave now.
I know. Well, and I think that's part of the problem. I'm not sure anybody really does. They're not going to find out until this whole thing comes through. And then this year they start testing the rules to see what happens.
But they're not testing the
Um,
rules either. The NCAA is just doing this to stay alive. They're
well, but
taking
yeah,
all of their
but the
rules
schools are
and
going to start testing the rules this fall. Well, actually, I guess as they're recruiting.
kind of. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I guess I don't see how it works where you give each team you give each team parameters on what they can pay their players, because
Yeah.
that's already the issue, is that they've said you can't pay them anything. So now they've
Right.
taken all guidelines off of it and said you can pay them whatever you want. They can, as long as the NIL collective's not directly involved with the schools so that we avoid pay to play, then you can pay them whatever you want. But now we've got revenue sharing. So it is pay to play, but it's got to be a set amount so that all the schools can get the same amount. So you've got a salary cap of $20 million per team.
Mm-hmm.
That $20 million, are they going to put regulations on how that money is spent? You know, quarterbacks make 2 million, running backs make 1 million, kickers make 100,000. I don't know, something stupid like that. Like, you know, and then backups, you're all making, 100,000, something like that. I don't think that that's going to be the case. I don't think that they're going to be able to regulate that, because that's not how it works in the NFL. And I'm not saying that's the only reason it wouldn't work in college football. I'm saying that there's 133 teams.
Right.
How are they going to be able to legislate that? How are they? The NCAA just
I
got
think that's all part of the question. Yeah.
well, yeah, and I guess the way I see it is the NCAA just it keeps getting sued because they keep trying to tell people how, or that they can't spend their money. I
Mm-hmm.
think that they'll continue getting sued if they change that to this is how you have to spend your money.
Yeah.
I
Well,
I
I
don't
know
think they can do that.
from what I've read, I mean, exactly what we're talking about here is that from what I've read, there are a lot of schools right now that are very nervous because with the settlement wasn't a, oh, hey, look, we fixed it. The settlement was, okay, we just destroyed the previous system. Hopefully we can figure something else out before the fall. So it's
Yeah.
they're all kind of in limbo right now trying to figure out what's going on. Meanwhile, money is flying around, players are transferring, and smaller schools have to keep up.
So
But
I looked this up real quick.
all right.
So, okay, NIL collectives. Universities will have the ability to raise funds for NIL collectives. The amount raised can vary significantly, with some universities raising between 5 to 6 million, while others can raise into the neighbor of 18 to 20 million. So, the NIL collectives, according to this, is they can do whatever they want still. So if the settlement is approved, which it already was, the era of amateur athletics will essentially be over. This means that student athletes will be able to profit not only from their name, image, and likeness, but they will also receive a share of revenue generated by their sports. We already knew that. The settlement provides legal protection for the NCAA, potentially shielding it from future legal challenges related to athlete compensation, because they gave up. Well, they didn't. Okay, they gave up, sure, but
It's a mess. It's a mess right now. We
yeah,
gotta keep digging into that. Keep an eye on it and see what happens. I apologize, everybody. I've kind of lost track of the chat, so we're gonna hit a few of them here. First one. This is really cool. I give John Dodamo a shameless plug that they've got running back Micah Kaapana. Kaapana? How would you say that? Kaapana?
Kapana,
Kaapana.
Kapana.
On the Michigan show tomorrow night at 8. So that's going to be the live stream on Michigan football, the Voice of College Football with John Dodamo. I'm going to be watching that one. I hope everybody else is too. That's going to be cool.
Yeah, that's sweet.
And then John Dodamo adds, yes, it's basically becoming semi-pro And then there's this whole Antoine getting blocked.
No, Antoine blocked Moose.
Antoine Black Moose, yeah.
It's all Antoine's fault.
Borg Warner says Jim Harbaugh did everything he was hired to do. Yeah, including break the NCAA. Now, okay, so Dave's here actually says this isn't going to pass muster as far as antitrust. At this point, I don't think it has to because they've reached a settlement. So it's over. The lawsuit is done. The settlement has been reached. Now it's just a matter of who can pick up the pieces faster. Antoine says it will look like the pros with less money being paid, basically junior pros. Yeah, well, that's the minor leagues. You know, the minor league baseball players get paid, I don't know, 5% what major league players get. I mean, they're basically making minimum wage, but they're playing baseball and they love it. Connor Stallions, hope all 50 states of the United States sues the NCAA just for breathing. Yeah, the NCAA just needs to go away.
Well, no,
No?
I don't know that they should now.
All right.
We need some sort of structure.
Well, and that's going to happen too. It's just a matter of, you know, it may be that the NCAA needs to go away and a new structure put in place because the NCAA has become too corrupt to fix. And it may be better to just end it and start over.
But they're not going to do that. There's way too much money at stake. The stakeholders of the NCAA will not allow the NCAA to die. And this is the other thing, too, that I completely forgot with this, is that Title IX is not addressed in the settlement terms. So it still applies. And now athletic directors are wondering, of the $22 million salary cap they're allowed to get, does $11 million of that have to go to women athletes? And I think the real question is, do they have to equally distribute that money to non-revenue sports? Because that's going to kill the athletic departments.
Yeah, I mean, if they spread it across all sports, basically it's going to get down to everybody gets $5.
Well, yeah, not only that, but like the athletic departments aren't going to get as much in revenue, period.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I thought it was hilarious that, you know, here they are talking about, you know, Title IX, and they are just basically outright saying, oh, we don't have to play the female players. I mean, come on.
Yep. Okay, here you go. Many within the sport believe that schools will Many within the sport believe that schools will keep their collective around for two reasons. One, to circumvent the revenue sharing cap by using third-party entities to offer bonuses. And two, bend Title IX rules as collectives are not under the umbrella of the university. That's why. So actually, universities should not want their collectives to be brought in underneath the university umbrella, because that would make them Title IX. That would force them to follow Title IX.
Oh, okay. Can you read that again, will you?
Many within the sport believe that schools will keep their collective, their NIL collective, around for two reasons. One, to circumvent revenue sharing caps by using the third-party entity to offer bonuses.
Okay, got it.
Two, to get around Title IX rules as collectives are not under the umbrella of the university.
Right.
It's a bonus.
Yeah.
So, and that's where it differs from the NFL, because the NFL, well, actually, I don't know that it does, because I think the NFL, the individual teams still collect revenue from their own merchandise sales and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, so Michigan's NIL collective can still give bonuses to certain athletes. So, okay, maybe what you're saying is right. Maybe they can say, you know, each team has to allocate their money to players in a specific way. So every single player is going to make, I think Ferris Khan said that his calculation was $58K, if I saw that comment correctly. Every single player makes $58,000 a year. That's amazing. Congratulations. The quarterback's going to get a bonus of $10 million. Okay, the running back's going to get a bonus of $5 million. And that's how they get around.
From the collective?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's how they get around salary caps.
Yeah.
But does that mean that during the recruiting process, they can tell the player, yeah, we can get you a $20 million bonus with our NIL collective? or does that fall under pay for play? Yes, please. Do that.
Yeah, so they're already looking for ways around it. So they it's the nature of the beast. This is why these things have to be regulated in one way or another, because it's either going to be a free for all, or they're going to try to come up with some. It's just they like to work around the rules. I'm sorry, I don't know how else to say it. It's just they work around the rules, and it's okay. We want to avoid paying these people, so we're going to move this over here. We want to avoid paying these people, so we're going to move this back over here. And it's yeah,
Yeah.
I just it's just sort of hilarious to me that they're trying to avoid Title IX. They're trying to avoid paying women players. I mean, I realize I'm the old guy here, but I mean, it's like, man, this is 2024, and they're actually saying out loud they want to avoid playing the women players.
I don't know. Well, I don't know that it's that. I think that because Title IX just means everybody needs to be given an equal share or equal opportunity to the share or something like that. I don't know. So
Yeah.
I think that they're more concerned about giving money to the non-revenue sports. I mean, do they have to give money to the beach volleyball teams and stuff like that? I think that's what I
Well,
heard.
yeah, and I think that's something they got to work out, because I mean, we talk about what's fair, what's just, and all of that, but I mean, I think if you're on you know, the official badminton team, and the only people who show up to play are the other guys from your dorm room, um, I don't think they should be getting paid.
But I mean, Michigan's got a tennis team. And from what I understand, that tennis team is really good, and they
Yeah,
travel to meets and stuff like that, and those are
right.
costs.
Well, exactly, and they have meets that where people show up. Tennis is not an unpopular sport, but I mean, what you could potentially have here. Now that I'm thinking about it, what you could potentially have here is somebody saying, "Oh no, we just started a new sport called badminton ball." Um, and we've got a team of 5 players, and we've already talked to 3 other schools in the Big Ten, and they've got a team they're putting together, and then it becomes officially sanctioned. But it turns out nobody watches it, and the only people who are there are the guys on the team, and but we're an officially sanctioned team, so now we got to get paid. I think that's actually a danger that could happen.
Yeah, and that's why they need to separate the revenue sports from the non-revenue sports.
Right.
So I don't know who said it. I think it was Ferris Khan just said that what they need to do is give college football the NIL money and give everyone else the revenue sharing. But
Yeah.
at that point, I think we still have the same issue with revenue, or we still have the same issue with players complaining that they're not getting paid, because is the fourth stringer going to get any NIL money? No. So, but they're probably going to complain. See, the whole thing is kind of weird because under your normal economic model, if you are generating value, then generally people pay money to receive that value.
Mm-hmm.
But we're kind of introducing college football. I mean, this is kind of funny, actually, is that college football is operating with the same model as the American Social Security system, where people are paying into it and not getting anything from it. So, I mean, your tax dollars are going to the American government, and they're dispersing it around all of these different social programs and stuff like that. And I'll just stop with the politics right there. The same kind of thing is happening with the NCAA. They're
Keep talking.
The NFL is paying the college football is paying the taxes for collegiate sports, but the NCAA then has to disperse the money to everybody. Tennis isn't supporting that revenue, or isn't generating that kind of value.
Right.
Women's basketball is not supporting that kind of value. Women's baseball, men's baseball for that matter. I mean, they're not generating value. So why are they getting money from it?
I think it's fair to say that at least in all the Big Ten schools, um, football and basketball support all of the other sports.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think the third sport in that list is even close.
Maybe hockey. Well, no, I don't think it's close,
No, I
but
don't even
I
think
think
hockey is.
hockey's not revenue generating.
Well, no, hockey's revenue generating. I just don't think it's even up to the level of basketball. I think hockey is a sport loved. It's more of a, what would you call that? Like a cult sport, like a cult TV show. It's a cult sport. The people who watch hockey love it and are uh, adamant about hockey. But there's not a lot of those people.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's true. Yeah. There's just,
Yeah.
so it's
It's
not
not
as
a huge
popular as
fan
football.
base. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a good question from Go Blue, Go Blue. So the NCAA won't have much power to punish Signgate then?
Don't know.
Uh, yeah, I don't know that that'll change, except that if the NCAA is eliminated and ends. But otherwise, I would think they still have the same power to enforce all the rules that are on the books because they haven't done away with the NCAA rulebook yet.
Yep.
Davis here says, like the same teams win since it was legal to pay players the first time. It's not fair, or all-time teams wouldn't win 70% of the time. So I think, yeah, this is basically the standard question. Is that, I mean, isn't it basically the teams that are in the top 10 every year essentially going to get all the NIL money?
Not
I mean,
necessarily.
who's going to go from San Diego State and say, "Oh no, we got, we'll give you $1 million bag here," or um,
Kentucky's dropping bags like it's nobody's business and
yeah,
stealing
but
recruits
Kentucky
from
isn't too far out of the top realm though.
Kentucky.
I mean, yeah, I understand Kentucky's not necessarily a title contender every year, but they're not unknown either.
Kentucky football. I mean,
Yeah,
they're bottom of the pack in the SEC every single year.
but just the fact
ACC.
alone that they're in the SEC gets them in the conversation every year. Maybe not as a contender. I'm not saying that. I understand they're not a contender. I get that. But still, Kentucky, UK is a known school.
It's a basketball school. I mean, if we were
I mean,
talking basketball, for sure.
not like Murray State, where every year we're like, who's Murray State? Or what was the one that just changed, that just went from the FCS to the FBS this past year?
Liberty? No.
St. John's or something?
That sounds familiar.
Something like that just all of a sudden popped up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean realistically, it's those nationally known schools where the NIL money is going to. So that's still the big question.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the potential with NIL is that some of these lesser teams could end up landing big players because somehow or another they have good NIL, but
Mm-hmm.
but actually that's what I'm saying is that's why Kentucky. I mean, Kentucky football is 8 wins max a year. Okay, so they're
Yeah.
not fantastic.
No.
But they're stealing players from Michigan. They're stealing players from other places because they're dropping bags. So they might not be as, incredible an example as, say, if Western Michigan somehow or another signed a top 5 class and won a natty.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know that that's going to happen, but these average teams could potentially start picking up some really good players because of it.
I mean, okay, imagine you're Davis Warren and
Mhm.
EMU comes up to you and says, "Hey, Davis, we'll give you $1 million if you'll come play at EMU."
Do it. You'll start.
You'll start, and that'll be the end of your career because any throw won't go to a guy who can catch it.
That's not necessarily true.
Yeah. But I
Wes,
guess my point is that EMU is not going to have the money.
well, and But that Eastern Michigan doesn't need to have the money because it's their NIL collective that has the money. Somewhere out there is a millionaire who graduated from Eastern Michigan
And lives in
and
Ypsilanti.
and lives in Ypsilanti in the only nice apartment complex, and for whatever reason decides that he really wants Eastern Michigan to have a really good quarterback, even though the rest of the team's probably not so great. And he's going to give that kid $1 million to come play there. And then that kid's going to go pro. Actually, no, he's probably going to transfer somewhere else. But in any case, they could still go pro. Western Michigan has players go pro. I mean,
Sure,
Corey
yeah.
Davis went pro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, hold up. Moose says Kirk Cousins is a scrub.
No, come on. Not yet.
He was a scrub when he played for the Spartans.
No, he was really good when he played for the Spartans.
Hold on. Dave here says this is all communism. All of it?
That's correct. We know where you live, Dave.
Man, these chats about Antoine being blocked go on forever.
No, Antoine blocked Moose.
Right. Moose is loose now.
Moose is loose.
You mess with the moose, you get the antlers.
Ooh. Oh, that's bad.
How did the NCAA ever get by with keeping money away from people in NIL?
They claimed amateurism.
Which is what it was. Yeah.
Well, that's what it was.
Right.
But again, they lost every lawsuit that they got into because of it. Because amateurism is not a reasonable model. You can't defend it. Every single they would claim amateurism, and somebody would go, well, no, this is America. If somebody is generating value, they should get paid for it. And the NCAA doesn't have antitrust immunity like the NFL does. So
right. So there's that $20 million tweet you were talking about from Otis. First Con, I want $10 million to go to women's sports. All of them. Just $10 million across all women's sports. Sorry, I don't mean that. Women's sports are fine. You know what? Now that I've said that, like I've told you before, I actually enjoy women's soccer more than men's soccer because the women aren't wusses.
I did enjoy women's soccer, but not so
they're
much.
Tougher. They're the ones who they play with the wounds and the getting kicked in the ankles and all that. They just get up and keep playing. Where the guys soccer teams are like, oh, I can't do it anymore.
That's true. That is true. I don't know. I'm just done with all the politics and the the women's national team. All of their politics and stuff like that just got in the way of it.
Yeah, well, that's true. Antoine says, I think this will add an interesting element to team building. I actually think that Michigan has an advantage as long as their limits, because I already know Michigan knows how to build. I'm pretty sure that's what he meant to say. Michigan does know how to build, yes. And go Detroit Tigers. Oh, holds. Okay, here we go.
Holds.
Okay, so wait a minute. I think this will add an interesting element to team building. I actually think that Michigan holds an advantage as long as their limits, because I already know Michigan knows how to build. All right.
Okay.
I mean, Michigan might have an advantage over time, too, because Michigan has been, I don't know if you say they're good at this or just it's what happens naturally, but things move slower at Michigan.
I don't know that that's what... I don't know that that's what Antoine meant. I think that what he's referring to here is the rumor that Michigan has an NIL deal pending with Deja Vu Strip Club in Ypsilanti. And so the Michigan hose he's referencing is the new NIL strip club deal that they have pending.
All right. John D'Adamo asks, so are you team Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese? The world wants to know. I'm not sure if he's talking to us, though. But anyway.
I was joking about the deja vu thing. Really? Nothing? We just want to gloss past that one.
Not tonight.
Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese is a jerk.
Is she?
Yes.
She's good at basketball, though.
She's pretty good at basketball. But
I don't know. I'm undecided. I kind of like them both.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you see what Angel Reese said about Caitlin Clark getting checked?
No. What did she say?
Well, she said that Caitlin Clark hasn't done anything for women's basketball. Angel Reese has done just as much for women's basketball as Caitlin Clark has. And
Oh, so she kind of made it about herself?
yeah, she made it about herself. And I don't know that
well,
I
that's kind of narcissistic, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know that I necessarily disagree. I'm just saying that like that's pretty self-centered.
Yeah. All right. Well, then I'm on Caitlin Clark team.
Yep.
Okay, so here's the one you were pointing out about Ferris. 58,000 was my math. Men's and women's athletes. This is a decent wage for a 19-year-old in school. Yeah.
It's a decent wage for anybody.
Yeah.
Oh.
Goodness gracious. Hold on. Okay, so for me, it's a gray area. Technically, we violated the Big Ten sportsmanship rules with what we know so far with Stallions. If you want to call that cheating, fine, whatever. Oh, did I miss something back here?
Yeah, they started talking about counter stallions
Okay.
and all that.
Yeah, well, technically we did violate the Michigan violated the Big Ten sportsmanship rules.
They were
Connor Stallions did, but they still have to determine if anybody else did.
And they didn't. There's
Right.
no evidence, but I don't want to get into that.
At least not that they've shown us.
Yeah.
Antoine says, I don't think equal distribution between women and men's sports should qualify when they don't bring in enough money. This is like a WNBA type of deal. Yeah. I mean, that's really, it just kind of goes along with it. It doesn't matter if it's a men's team or a women's team. If it, like you said, Mac, if it doesn't bring in revenue, why are they part of the revenue discussion?
Yep. Why?
Yeah. Livy Dunn. Livy Dunn deserves every penny of that $3 million, if you ask me. Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that.
Well, never
Livy Dunn is a gymnast at LSU.
yeah, okay.
She's pretty.
She's pretty?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see.
Okay, we might have to move on to the next story. Wow, there's a lot of tweets here. Ferris Khan says, side note, what if Jack Tuttle beats OSU as a seventh-year player, then goes straight into collecting Social Security? Hold on a minute. Even in year 7, what is he, like 27? 26?
Is he really?
Or is he 25?
Wow.
Maybe he's 25. Wait a minute. 18. Yeah, he'd be 25.
Okay. I can
All
confirm.
Right. What?
Livy Dunn is pretty.
All right. There we go. You guys are way behind. Yes, we're behind.
We live our life behind.
Ooh. Ypsi is underrated. Lots of nice new restaurants. Haven't been to Ypsilanti in a while because I lived in Ann Arbor in the 70s. So there was no reason to go to Ypsilanti ever. All right, I'm gonna push forward here. We're gonna go into the last story because it's already 9:30.
Yeah, this is usually our quitting time.
I know. So this one is more, Mac. You're gonna have to go through some recruiting stuff.
Oh, come on! She
So
decides to tune in now.
Uh-oh. Did you happen to see this, Mac? I don't know if you might want to. You got a discussion.
Started it.
All right, let's get into some recruiting discussion. Some pure Michigan. We've been talking Penn State and the NCAA and the Big Ten at large. Let's get. All right, just so everybody knows, Mac might not be on the show next week.
Honey, I love you so much. Please continue making me dinner.
Oh, there you go.
It was John's fault. It was John's fault.
Coming to your rescue. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. All right, let's get into some pure Michigan. We're in June, and this is the month for a ton of official visits. I did not know that June was official visit month, so that's this is pretty cool because now that the transfer window is closed, transfer portal is closed. Now they're starting to make the official visits, and we're just 3 months away from the season starting. So, for everyone not watching, let's drop some notes in the chat, and I will try to keep up this time. What do you think Michigan still needs for 2024 to be a championship season for our reigning national championship Wolverines? Michigan unfortunately lost some momentum on the recruiting trail after winning that national championship because of all the coaching turnover. Sharon Moore obviously had to focus on getting his staff together and had to turn away from recruiting for a bit. We still have Donovan Edwards, though, and Alex Orji. I think what stands out for Michigan is the number of players they were able to keep, although they did have a handful or so transfer away. But as I understand it, not many of them were key players outside of Keon Sabb and, who was the other one? I can't remember his name. Anyway, Mac,
Yep.
are we worried about Michigan recruiting, or do you think Sharon Moore has everything in hand? What do you got?
Yeah, I think Sharon Moore's got everything in hand. I'm seeing that Nathaniel Owusu Boateng, who's got probably the greatest name I've ever seen. I'm seeing that he is now warm on Michigan. He is warm on Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and USC. I would really like to see him come to Michigan because I would really like some linebacker depth going into 2025. That being said, we picked up Carter Smith for 3-star. I thought he was a 4-star. At one point, he was a 4-star. I thought maybe on 3 had him as a 4-star. Carter Smith, though, quarterback, picked him up for 2025. That's a good get. We're keeping that quarterback room, keeping some guys in there, which is really good. The one thing I wanted to see, though, this was what I was talking to TJ about on the call-in show on Voice of College Football the other night on Thursday, which tune into that every Thursday. Voice of College Michigan Football, the Voice of College Football does a call-in show every Thursday night, 8:00. Great stuff there. I wanted to see if they would get any of these wide receivers that they had coming in. It looks like Quincy Porter, I can't remember if he was a part of the visits this weekend, but Quincy Porter is now warm on Michigan. He's a 4-star wide receiver. Michigan just has to fend off Oklahoma, Ohio State, and Penn State for him. Oklahoma kind of worries me there a little bit. Ohio State as well. I can't imagine a wide receiver of his talent would go to Penn State, although I don't know. Maybe I don't know enough about recruiting to make a claim like that. But in any case, I wanted to see when they're all going to be visiting here in the near future, I believe. Over the weekend, though. So Friday, May 31st. Yep. Okay. We had Derek Meadows, Douglas Utu, Kanoa Winston, DJ Sanders, and Marco Jones were all visiting. And from what I understand, Derek Meadows said that his visit was really good. He said that Michigan did everything right. He had a lot of fun, said it was a really good time. He is a 5-star wide receiver. Michigan's got to fend off Notre Dame, Alabama, LSU, and Georgia for him. That's a big ask, especially if we don't get NIL together and soon. And it sounds like Michigan had a story that they were going national with their NIL program. There was a lot of really positive updates about that. If they get it done, then maybe they have a chance to get Derek Meadows to commit. But I don't know. I'd really like to see this offensive tackle Douglas Utu commit. He's a 4-star. Utu, and he could kill him. So I'll probably stop that. Michigan's got to fend off Washington for him though, so I think Michigan's got a good chance at Douglas Utu here. So hopefully they can pull that one in. Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see how these visits go, but
yep.
I think there's some good stuff going on.
Now, what do you think what Moose is saying here? He thinks Notre Dame might be more of a lock for Meadows than Michigan.
I don't know. Maybe they are. I mean, I don't know what Notre Dame has that Michigan doesn't, but that doesn't mean anything. And maybe they can pull him in. I'd like to see if Sharon Moore can pull in some wide receivers sooner than later. Because I was talking to TJ about this. a lot of players have said that with Kurt Campbell as the new offensive coordinator, that the Michigan offensive playbook would really get opened up and they would start to move, more in the direction of passing the ball.
Mhm.
To me, if Michigan started landing some wide receivers, that means that maybe that's true. But at the same time, we might not see that happen just yet. I mean, that might not play out with recruiting just yet. So Michigan might still go another year, maybe even another 2 years, landing, middle of the road wide receivers. But I'm pretty sure Roman Wilson was he a 3 or a 4-star? I can't remember. But in any case,
I don't know.
When it comes down to it, I'm not concerned about Michigan wide receivers because as long as the people can, if they can get open and catch the ball, it's not a big deal. What I would like to see is Michigan bring in and TJ said it was the X receiver. Not entirely sure what that means, but a receiver that's big, that can fend off, big linebackers and stuff like that. Where was I going with that? That can fend off big linebackers. I'd like to see something like that. I think Michigan's got a lot of really small guys, but they're speedy. But yeah, I'm curious to see if Sharon Moore will pull any wide receivers.
Now, oh shoot, I just lost it. Oh my goodness. Oh, there we go. Moose is saying that Utu just had an official visit to Michigan, and we're leading for him.
Yep. Yeah, he was over the weekend.
Over the weekend, yeah, he said he loved his visit, so that's good. Now, have you seen? I just saw the other day, or maybe it was today. Dominic Zvada, the kicker. Did you see any of the video on him? They were saying he's kicking like 65-yard field goals, like it was nothing.
All right.
Now, granted, it's on a practice field, and it didn't look like there was any wind, and obviously he doesn't have 11 300-pound guys running at him, but still, to have that kind of accuracy is, that's Moody levels, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, hopefully he didn't just get lucky. I mean, we won't. It's good to know that he's doing that. I mean, maybe then we can count on him for a 40 plus. Which would be nice. It would be nice to know that we don't have to get into the end zone every time. I mean, that would be helpful. But yeah, I mean, that's great. And actually, I forgot, somebody just brought it up. Amorion Walker, who recommitted to Michigan, transferred back to Michigan. He's coming in as a wide receiver. I think he's pretty big, actually, if I remember correctly. So that might be your X receiver that TJ is talking about.
All right. Go first, Con. Ferris says that I believe that Alex Orji can, in fact, complete a forward pass. So that's good.
That's good.
Bell was a 2-star. Did we mention Bell? Ronnie Bell?
I said I was referring to Roman Wilson, but yeah, Ronnie Bell. I mean, he was really good and he was a 2-star. So yeah.
Well, that's what we've talked about a few times. For Michigan, it's not necessarily how many stars; it's how well they develop. It's looking for the right players, not the best players. Although I thought it was funny because I did hear Sharon Moore say that today, yeah, we're just out looking for the best players. And I went, no, don't say that. But
no,
he can say whatever he wants, I guess.
Herb Brooks is rolling in his grave.
Right. Antoine says, why do we want a wide receiver? Michigan doesn't want to throw the ball like that anyway. Michigan's passing game is short to intermediate, just like Michigan cries about QBs when we don't pass.
Yeah.
Is Michigan still a die-by-the-run team, though? It seems like they've changed.
They're a little bit more balanced, which is why I keep saying, and John and TJ were saying that, we just want Alex Orji to hit 62% of his passes. If he can do that, then Michigan will be fine on offense. So I think that the point is that Michigan is more balanced on offense now. But yeah, I mean, he's right. I don't necessarily care about who our wide receivers are because they're only going to be getting the ball 62% of the time. And that's only 62% of the time of the 50% of the time that we throw it. So if we have a good running game that forces the defense to stay honest, then what does it matter?
Right. John clarifies the X receiver is to the very right of the line of scrimmage.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Very right.
Got it.
Okay. So
thank you,
on
John.
The outside. Yeah. Here we get some education here. Y is the slot receiver and Z is the very left of the line of scrimmage. All right. Now I feel like we need a diagram. Here we go.
Yeah.
We need to get one of those screens we can use our finger on to circle things.
Yes.
Let's see. The transfer kicker has a cannon. Yeah. John Adamo says, yeah, he did in fact nail the 65-yarder.
Wow. Yeah.
Ooh, Money Moody is from Ferris Khan's hometown of Northville. I like Northville.
Nice.
Northville is a nice town. Nice walking area down there. You go
Mhm.
down, they've got the area where they have the band set up. That's a really cool spot.
My roommate from college lives in Northville now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Moose says, yeah, Northville is great if you're rich. Yeah, I can't afford to live there, but, I can drive down there and walk their streets, and they don't seem to mind.
They're not looking at you like, who's that trash?
Borg Warner says that Orgy will be 65%, not 62%. Who was it that came up with 62? Is that TJ?
I think that was TJ.
I think that was it either TJ or Ferris?
Yeah.
All right. Well, what do you think?
Do we have anything more?
Well, that was the last story. We got a couple more chats still coming in here. I just think we need to. Moose says, I just think we run it enough as it is. We already have enough running backs. Don't need another quarterback. Oh, I see. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously the Big Ten, or Michigan in particular, has always been a die by the run kind of school, but I don't know. I mean, Rich Rod tried to change that, didn't work out so well. Brady Hoke tried to get back to it, I think, but I think Jim Harbaugh was successful at balancing out Michigan's offense, which would explain why we won the national championship.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess that'll be interesting to keep track of. John says that the 62%, that's Ferris Khan original.
Ah, there you go.
Very nice. Good job, Ferris.
FKO.
But yeah, why don't we call it there? My voice is about trash. I don't know. I think next week I'm going to have to take a allergy pill before we do the show because this pollen this year has just been nasty around here. I mean, I go outside and just start hacking. Yeah. I don't usually have that problem.
Well, those white things are falling like snow. It's crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
I wanted to remind everyone again. John, you had it in here, but now I don't know. I'm going to find it. But watch John D'Adamo's live stream tomorrow night on Michigan football, the voice of college football. They're going to have
that running back.
The running back. Now I forgot his name again. I'm sorry, John. John, can you repost that in the chat? And then I will drop it on there. But they're going to have one of the players, one of the actual players, thanks to Moose, who is able to contact him and get him on there. Dude. That should be pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Let's see. I am going to be guest hosting on TJ's call-in show this Thursday. Oh, there we go. Micah Coppin. Oh, that's why I couldn't remember it, because I couldn't pronounce it the first time. Micah Kapana is going to be on tomorrow night, Tuesday night, 8 o'clock, John D'Adamo's call-in show on the Michigan football, voice of college football. Moose says he's no 3-star. Watch film on that kid. All right, so that should be a good show. I'm going to be on TJ's show Thursday night on the Michigan football, voice of college football. Otherwise, I guess I should say too, coming up in the next couple of weeks, next Monday, we have Buckeyes Battle Cry is going to be on our show right here. And then the following week, we're going to have Justin Adams, who does the Husker football, voice of college football channel. We're going to get him on here to talk about some Husker football, some Nebraska. I would like to get somebody from each of the new teams, USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon. I would like to get somebody from each one of those teams on our show so that we can talk about the new teams coming in and get familiar with these teams that we've only ever known as Rose Bowl opponents. I just think it's going to be kind of cool. So if anybody out there has any connections, let me know, and we'll see what I can do to get them on the show. I know we do have one USC channel, so I'm going to talk to him. And man, now I forgot his name again. I am terrible at this.
John's saying we can talk to Tim Prangley at USC.
That's the guy. Yeah.
Okay.
So we can talk to him. So we get one of them, and then we just need Oregon, UCLA, and Washington. Get those taken care of. Otherwise, our own announcements. We have memberships now, 99 cents. You get some cool emojis. Anything else going on, Mac? Am I forgetting anything? Because
we are officially less than 100 days away from kickoff.
Yes.
I believe we're 98 days away from kickoff now, which is super exciting. The off season, for as long as it feels, it actually goes by pretty quickly. Lake Michigan is still not warm enough to swim in. And yeah, that's all I got.
That's all you got. All right. We will be back next Monday night at 8 p.m. with Buckeyes Battle Cry. You can also catch our Point a Minute show. Will be posted on Michigan Football, the voice of college football, tomorrow morning, probably around 11 o'clock. Otherwise, have a great week, everybody. Don't forget to check out all the great stuff on Michigan Football, the voice of college football. Stick around here with Big Ten Team Rivalry Show. We are on the way to 1,000 subs. I have not checked to see where we are at as of now, but
822.
822. All right. So we're only another 178 away. As always, we're like any other channel. 40% of the people that watch the channel, or 60% of the people that watch the channel, aren't subscribed. So just sort of reach over and click that subscribe button. It's just right there. It's down here somewhere. Just click on that. It's free. It's we're funny. It's a good deal. It's always a good deal.
In return, we will sell your information to advertisers.
Did we do that? I thought we decided not. Are we still doing that?
I thought you said to do that.
Oh, well, I mean, if we get a good price, yeah, I guess that's a good thing.
Well, no, we haven't been getting anything.
We're getting nothing? Goodness gracious. All right, everybody, go Blue. Enjoy your week. We will be back here Monday night. Mac, get us out of here.
This is the worst marketing ploy you've ever seen. The Big Ten Team Rivalry Show. Good night, everybody.
Good night.